So welcome back, and I hope that you found this morning's session really helpful and interesting, and hopefully has made us think a little bit more about how we might want to shape some of the conversations going forward. I just want to say a few things before I introduce our next guest speaker, but really for me, we all know that hearing from different perspectives and seeing issues from different prisms not only enhances our ability to seek and identify a wider range of options, but really does help us understand what else can be going on, because often we are fixated from our own agency's perspective. And recently I was asked what were some of the things that inspired me in my career. And one of the things that I kind of focus on quite a lot is my early career. I spent a lot of time working with young people directly, young people who had committed some really quite horrendous offences and were on the cusp of going to custody. And what really holds true to me even today was that those young people would tell me that they didn't see a life past their 21st birthday, that they really didn't see anything positive about themselves, and that they had so much anger and blame towards everyone that they really couldn't see past any of that. What they said to me, though, that when I worked with them and the time I gave, the care and support and the consistency that was applied was really important to them. And giving young people a legitimate voice in their futures helped them to move away from the negativity that they were causing, the drama, the trauma, the anger, and all that injustice that they felt. And I personally have been really grateful to young people who are able to share those life journeys with us. I'm very humbled to speak to families who have lost loved ones and families who have been victims of serious crime. I speak a lot to survivors of a whole range of crimes, and often we do miss some of those really key moments that changes people's lives, the things that make a difference, and how do we as agencies make sure that we respect that and take those things on board. So I'm really grateful about the way in which people talk and share those stories across agencies, across statutory agencies, voluntary sector, and across all of our communities. So I think it's important, irrespective of what role we do, what jobs we do, it's the grounding ourselves in the reality of the world and making sure that we always do see things through others' eyes, because that will help us to lead to better responses. So whilst we're all here today and we all do work in the criminal justice field, I think it's important that we broaden that influence, we stretch the possibilities of what it's like to improve the place in which our young people are growing up in, the place in which our communities live in, and of course to really hear through the eyes of young people. And on that note, I'd like to introduce Noel Williams. So Noel is here as a criminal justice consultant and is really, really keen and is amazing in terms of sharing his passion. The passion that he holds about helping others, and to use his experience in his capacity as a board member for Peer Power. So the next session will be a kind of interview with myself and Noel, and I hope that this will be really helpful in terms of shaping our understanding about what more we might want to think about in terms of our services going forward. So welcome, Noel.
Thank you.
I think the first question that we're all really interested to find out is, what are you most proud about to date?
Well, first and foremost, thank everybody who's come and attended the conference. I hope you have a good afternoon, and I hope I've got some golden nuggets of information for you, so make sure you've got your pens and pads out. Now, I think the greatest achievement I've got to date is my education, from somebody who comes from a socially deprived background, who hasn't really had a big focus on education before in my life, or what we'd say through my family. Education's opened doors for me. At the moment, I'm currently attending university. I'm in my second year studying for an applied social science degree. But my education's also opened doors to where I work now and got me up the social mobility ladder, so I definitely have to class education as something that's opened doors for me.
That's brilliant, thank you, and congratulations, that's brilliant.
Thanks very much.
Can you, if you reflected back on your past, what were the kind of good and bad things in terms of your experience of the criminal justice system?
I was going to talk a lot about youth offending, but I'm not going to barrage you with that. I'm going to give you a small nugget because these two wonderful gentlemen have turned up, and I'll tell you why soon. But youth offending for me was fantastic. I was going youth offending 14 years ago. It was based on a very family sort of orientated idea where my mum was very involved with my yacht worker, and my yacht worker would come to my house and he'd come to my estate and he'd chill out with us for a while. And it was all about engaging me on what was important to me. So I was an ISSP, and I'm sure we all know what that is, you know, and it's 5 hours a day. It's very intense. And if it's not pushed into the right places, it's not going to do anything for you. So I had a remarkable yacht worker in my youth between 12 to 15, who definitely changed my life and helped me out with my family and build relations. But I'd like to say 2 gentlemen here who are from Vinnie Green Secure Unit. When I was young, I was in Vinnie Green Secure Unit. They literally changed my entire life and set down the foundations for me to go forward. Of course, I went back into the system a few more times after that, but it's always what stayed with me was the great foundations in which Vinnie Green Secure Unit built, which is Ralph there and Paul Mackey, and I'd just like to thank them. My time in the youth estate was very up and down, but that was a fantastic way to begin.
That's great, thank you. If you were to think through some of your experiences, though, the sort of negative ones particularly, do you think that you faced any differential treatment based on either your ethnicity or your gender?
I wouldn't say, I'm going to say yes, without a shadow of a doubt. But I don't think it's institutional racism. I don't think it's any sort of conscious bias. I just think sometimes people, you know, label you, stigmatise and put you in a box. And I think that it's very hard, whether it's a yacht worker, whether it's the people in court, whether it's, you know, prosecution, whether it's defence. Being a young black kid, being born in the inner city, it throws up its own assumptions sometimes, you know, and that's not easy, especially when it comes to things like joint enterprise that I've been arrested for when I'd literally just been walking down the road. And even if I happen to know these people from my estate, it doesn't mean that I'm involved. But I guess, you know, in my community, as long as you're black, we're arresting you, and that's all that needs to be said. We've got a jury, and the jury are finding you guilty, and that's it. And I think that's a massive thing that we all need to look at as, you know, wonderful people who want to make sure we've got a better justice system for the whole of our society. But apart from that, I couldn't literally put my finger on anything else.
Okay, thank you. You've talked a little bit about education and obviously very amazing staff in the prison service that changed your life. Would you pick any other moment in your life that you think was the moment you took that decision to change?
There's been a lot of moments, but I'll pick this one out, for instance, because I think it involves what we call co-creation, something that BYC are really, you know, pushing at the moment that I fully endorse. And I went and I did a speech in Chelsea Football Club a few years ago, and I was Lord McNally, who used to be your chair of, you know, he was in the room and right at the back there somewhere. And afterwards he came up to me and he said, "Oh, you seem to be somewhat of an expert." I said, "Okay." He said, "Have you thought about being a political advisor?" I said, "No." And I think that was a massive time when somebody of that stature and come to me and said, "Look, I'm going to try and get you, you know, a young man from here, from this place into that place." And lo and behold, 3.5 years later, I'm in that place. And I think that's a massive turning point when you actually get told by people who are inside the service doing fantastic things that we want you to be part of it. You know, I followed him to the House of Lords, to dinner, to this meeting, to that meeting. You know, a lot of miles, but by God, it was fantastic for me.
Sounds amazing. So tell us a little bit more about what you're doing currently.
At the moment, I wear various hats, but I'd give you what my actual job is. Like I said, I'm going to university 2 days a week, studying applied social science, but I also work in the Centre for Social Justice, which I would, you know, deem to be the greatest think tank in the world, you know. And I'm very lucky to be in somewhere like that, so prestigious. And I work in the Criminal Justice Department, where I'm able to try and shape our, you know, sector for the best of society. And I see things from a different angle. Of course, I've got life experience. I'm building academic experience. I'm in a think tank with people who come from Oxford, Cambridge, and have different views on certain things in life. And when we come together, I think it's absolutely fantastic. And that's where I am, you know, putting my foot down and trying to help and shape the criminal justice system so it's best for everybody in society and advocating for young people. As well as that, I'm a board member of Peer Power, who I really love, I really, really do love. And, you know, one of the things that our core values are having empathy for others. And I think that's what people have shown me in my life and how I've turned my life around. So how can I not be that for other people? As well as the Standing Committee for Youth Justice that I'm a part of the board of, and I'm very proud of the work we do for them. And last but not least, I'm writing a paper at the moment, because I know it's quite a big thing for everybody in this room, which is centering around, you know, disclosure in youth criminal records. So I think I'm doing fantastic stuff, and long may it continue. Great.
So what does the Knoll in 5 or 10 years look like? What are you going to be doing?
Unfortunately, I'm coming for somebody's job in here. There's no doubt about it. You know, I'm going to be head of some service, and, you know, I think it's high time that people know that some people that have lived experience as well as academic backing is for us to start coming in some of these jobs now, sitting on these boards, sitting at the top table with another 15 people, because our experience is uncanny and you can't buy it. You definitely can't. So I have aspirations to be the Justice Minister, which will happen in time. No doubt about it. Thank you. But for now, I'm very happy in the CSJ. In 5 years' time, I wouldn't mind moving across the road to the MOJ, where maybe I can get a different sort of appointment, high in the civil service, where I can affect change like lovely, wonderful people I've seen today. And if I can keep being in this sector, which I'm, life's work, I've been told by Lord McNally that this is life's work, and we're all in it for a very long time, and you can never give up on what you truly believe in. So I'm sure a lot of you people will be seeing me in conventions going forward. Please say hello. But as I said, I'm coming for somebody's job, unfortunately, and that's a certainty.
Fantastic. That is amazing. I think what you've got and the passion that you have, we've got to use it for better. So on our final question then, how would you use all of that passion? What are those impossible things that you think we're facing in the system, and what would you do you think, to change it?
Not to be too party political, because I just think that's really dumb, We haven't got enough money and resources. Forget all that. I think we need to take it back to basics. I said to you, I was at Vinnie Green Secure Unit 13 years ago. It was built off the back of therapeutic exercises. Exactly what we want to do now with holistic approaches. I was doing horticulture. I was doing tennis, I was doing arts, I was doing things that I'd never done, it's never been shown to me. I think we need to go back to basics and that empathy of loving each other and realising everybody is a child. I heard today that we need to stop calling people young people, which I do agree with, they're children. And children need to get a chance to change their lives, and maybe we need to go back to the basics of that. Secondly, I've said it already, but I'll reiterate it in a more, pragmatic way. Every head or every board, I think high time it's long gone that you don't have anybody in there that's been in the criminal justice system. You need to really start getting people, not just young people, but people who can advise you on things that we might not see in the same way that other people see. And I'm not talking about an influx, I'm talking about maybe 2 or 3 people just to see things differently. Because as I said, when I was with Lord McNally, I think what was important for me was to actually know that I'm important. To know that I go into Parliament and people see me, and they don't see gold teeth, they don't see colour of my skin, they don't see I come from Tooting Broadway, they see, oh, Mr. Noel Williams, you've got something to say which is credible, we'll take that on board. I think that's very important, and I say that at ground level. Youth offending workers, talk to some of your young people, I'm sure they're fantastic. People in other parts of the civil service, when you're doing consultations, come to these young people. Don't just go into prisons for a day and say, oh, it was great. No, talk to them, find out what's going, find out what the problems are, and adhere to address those problems that I know we can all definitely do. And last, I do not think this is impossible. I think it is exactly the possible. We need to go back to what we call credible outcomes. Education has always been a credible outcome in anybody's life. If you have gone to the criminal justice system, it's fact that not everybody's going to be academically savvy. How about we start putting some impetus on people to learn trades and skills who can still be valued, who can still change their lives and go forward to become role models for other people in society, which I hope that I am. And I hope that other people can go forward and do that. And I don't think that's an impossible task at all. I also think that can happen at grassroots level. We've got some really effective third sector charities that I've been a part of. One called Action West London that was also part of the bracket of Beyond Youth Custody, who've done fantastic work for me. So come on, everybody. I truly believe in you like you believe in me. We can make the impossible possible. Thank you for turning up today. Thank you, Geeta, for doing what you're doing. And literally, let's have a great conference.
Thank you very much.
Shall I stay sitting or shall I stand? Thank you.